The train will either derail or crash. I gotta stop this thing.
Resident Evil 0.
In the 1960s, I got the privilege of being allowed to vote in the Equalist Party to end the tyranny of benders. That wasn't until some fuck from the Ashford family with a bachelor's in biology decided to do some research which would ultimately doom humanity. In '66, he and two other pricks develop a virus known as Progenitor, and they build a mansion out in the middle of fucking nowhere the following year. In '68, my friend Martin was assassinated by the Equalists, which started the anti-bender undercurrent of Republic City. And one of those three pricks starts Umbrella, the worst thing to happen to society since my civil rights were instated. Am I a racist? I'll never tell! In the same year, the Biodegree Man dies from his own virus, because he's stupid. His son takes over, choosing a degree in chemical engineering instead. In '69, we were in the middle of the Great Chum Famine. Or was that 59? Anyway, the new head honcho of the stupid family built the last stage of Cove Veronica in Antarctica. Why Antarctica? Because that's the location of one of the 66 spirit portals. In 71, the research necessary for Code Veronica to exist as the game is completed. The stock anime Superwoman and her gay brother are born. In 78, the last of the three pricks makes the T-virus, despite having majored in political science. In 81, 10-year-old anime Superwoman graduates from an unnamed university. It says here it's prestigious, but I think I'd do alright if I majored in interpretive dance. I guess a guy named Birkin picks this 10-year-old kid as his all-time anime rival. The Vegeta to his Tien, the Sasuke to his Monkey D. Luffy, the Shota to his Lukawa. You know you're gonna look this shit up, you simple bitch. The following year, an 11-year-old anime superwoman injects her father with the virus and kills him. When she's 12, she injects herself. If you're so smart, why are you so stupid? In '88, Wesker assassinates one of the three original pricks. It's not as cool as it sounds.
Oh, time to die, Doctor.
I will take over your research.
Was that the best take he could get? Jesus Christ. In '91, that fucking Sears air conditioning commercial that played forever arrives on the airwaves. In '92, the anti-bender sentiment is at a critical high. The firebenders secede the United Republic of Nations to form the Fire Nation. In '93, the Fire Nation attacked. Also, the gay brother of the anime Superwoman who froze herself in ice after willingly injecting herself with lethal pathogens graduates college with a degree in music. '94 was the year Tupac dropped a beat which accurately predicted Dave Chappelle's future in '03. In '96, the Stars team was founded. Hunk is mentioned here too. In the May of '98, an anime clone of one of the original three pricks just shows up. Zombie shit happens as a result. It's not until June that a group of people is finally sent out to investigate the sudden spike in anime rivalry. And it's here, where our tale of souls and swords is eternally retold. Resident Evil 0 began its life on the N64, but was eventually reconstructed and released back in 2002 for the GameCube, and remained an exclusive title until it was released again in 2008 for the Wii. In 2016, it received remastered ports to the 8th gen consoles, except for the Wii U, and PC. Footage here will be from the original release, and the remastered port to the PC. Release-wise, this is the 5th main series installment, not including remasters or side stories. We follow 18-year-old Stars member Rebecca Chambers.
The forest is full of zombies and monsters.
Zombies and monsters?
Jesus Christ. And Billy Cohen.
You'll pay for what you've done. We'll see which one of us is gonna die.
Originally, the team is just there to investigate missing persons. They decide to split up when they find a crashed vehicle. Rebecca not only finds this mass murderer,
Those poor soldiers. They were good men just doing their jobs, and that scum murdered them and escaped.
Jesus Christ, but also comes into the revenge plot of this anime's character's attempt to strike back against the prick that had him killed. So really, this entire bit is his story. You're just the one who stops it. Before we kick things off in the Ecliptic Express, let's get into the technical side of things. Originally, the game utilized a tank control movement scheme, no doubt due to the static nature of the game's camera and the fixed angles. The movement scheme allows the camera to make whatever jump cut it wants without throwing off your character's progress. Your character will only progress facing forward. Left and right on the analog only changes your direction. Backward results in a walk backward, and the default movement state is walking, but the placement of the run button on the GameCube controller is comfortable enough. A will observe and interact with your environment, as well as fire your weapon if it's ready. Y opens up the inventory, X swaps the lead character, the start button will allow you to separate the characters across the map and rejoin them given they're in the same area. R will ready your firearm, L will toggle targets, Z opens up the map for quick use. The PC remaster has one key difference in the basic control setup, being the ability to toggle out of the tank controls for more conventional movement. The plus side is being able to move both characters easily around obstacles. The minus is you have to adapt to the control changes across camera angles. It's not unpredictable, and you can learn how you should move the stick based on certain angle changes. But it's a learning curve. It's either that, or defaulting the stick to the resting position on harsher changing angles. You'll find yourself steering into walls until you adapt. Personally, I go alternate because fuck moments like this. If they get to 180 no-scope my face, fuck them. I should get to 180 no-scope my dick in their eye. Most of these controls have carried over from the original Resident Evil. The game attempted to change up its usual formula with a partner zapping system.
You have been zapped!
It's a fancy way of saying you just control two assholes instead of just one. It took advantage of the GameCube's C-stick, letting you control one character with the main analog and the other with the C-stick. The tank controls in place make player 2 a little awkward at times, but you can more or less get a feel for how it works. The Wii version with widescreen also supports the GameCube controller, so it's probably the better pick if you want to replay the classic version of this game. Among its other changes is the removal of the item box system, which lets you store items and transfer them between designated save rooms. Now you just kinda throw shit on the floor and come back for it. For first time players, this shit is downright evil.
Resident Evil.
Each character can only hold 6 items. Some items take up 2 slots, so let me tell you what you, the new guy, will probably do. Each character will keep a gun. That's slot 1. The gun needs ammo. That's slot 2. So really you're down to 8 free slots. Once you find a grappling hook, you won't quite know where it's needed. Because you're a reasonably intelligent fellow with modish good looks, you designate Rebecca as the pack mule. She now only has 2 slots remaining to Billy's 4. Zombies will get you, meaning health items are a must. First aids are full revives, taking up 1 more slot. Herbs, which may have to be combined, can take up to an additional 2. Rebecca is the only one who can mix herbs, so it's likely she's the designated healer. I mean, hey, she is a medic. This means 1 to 4 health items on Rebecca depending on who's holding the grappling hook. Billy by himself has a knife by default, so he's really only got 3 slots. Ammo in this game is very well placed. I won't say scarce, because you should have enough firepower to gun everything down. It's just kinda distribution which can make you run dry. Chances are, you run dry, and will opt to keep the knife. With all of this, you're really only working with 3 slots for puzzle solving. Chances are you didn't divvy up the free space correctly, and will be forced to drop and come back for certain items. Oh, and there's also more guns to find which will call for more ammo. On top of that, Rebecca can also have her own knife. If you play this out too poorly, you will be forced to do it again unless you smartly rotated saves. You can actually save yourself into a brick wall. There's no bullshit help to help the idiots keep pressing forward. Only, it might not be that you're an idiot, it's just that you didn't know. And so you learn by trial and error. See, this is one of them paradoxes. If you've beaten the game and know what's ahead, you know what to leave where, what you should grab, who should go first. You can see how well designed things are, because it actually is well designed. It's the willing explorer playing it by ear that's gonna be the one that's fucked in the eye socket. Even with tactful play, avoiding conflict, leading with Billy, carefully avoiding damage, there's still a strong possibility of mismanagement due to no fault of your own. You just didn't know whether or not to send Billy first. Or maybe you sent Billy first and you got punished for it. Or you entered a new area but left the hook shot because you thought you were done, or it was just a nuisance to carry. Rather than go on, I can just elaborate on the tech stuff as we run through it. We start here on the Ecliptic Express. It's a short tutorial area, but it sure won't feel short to a first-time player. Initially, the pacing isn't very great. Entering a room will usually trigger some kind of cutscene.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me. Sir?
Sir.
On top of this, it takes slightly over 8 seconds to pass from one room to another. So, I'm about to get my knickers in a twist.
Don't get your knickers in a twist.
Fuck you. But the load times here on both versions of the game are just unacceptable at this point in time. Even more so on the PC remaster, since it essentially takes the same amount of time to pass from one room to another. When you factor in that you can spend less than a few seconds traversing a space, the door thing quickly outstays its welcome and is probably the game's biggest blunder. Now before I continue to whine and complain, I'm gonna let you know that for most versions of the game, this issue can be corrected to varying degrees. Since I'm running the GameCube version on Dolphin, I can simply hit the tab key and unlock the frame rate when passing through doors. For the 1080 at least, this cuts down your door time to roughly 5 seconds. Because the Wii version can also be played on Dolphin, the same holds true. PS4 and Xbox One owners will have to suffer, but PC players have a lovely little mod which will essentially just skip the transitions as soon as the next space is ready to go. It's for this reason alone I consider the PC port to be the definitive version of the game. It has all the features of the originals, and the ability to cut out something which shouldn't have existed in the first place. Just being able to pass through rooms in the span of a few seconds greatly increases the willingness to explore. If you know what to do, that's fine, but for first timers, this is definitely the way to go. It's just one little extra step to install. This transition really has no reason to exist for the PC and 8th generation consoles. Digging into it, I found some mention here and there that the high quality models were the culprit for the load times on the GameCube. But given that it's really only a handful of models on a 2D background, I don't know. See, there's this other development team, made their first game on GameCube hardware a little earlier that year. 'Twas another survival horror game which began its life on the N64. Now while some ported assets definitely didn't look so hot, it still had reasonably good level geometry, and could have a multitude of enemies on screen. Wanna know what happens in this game when I pass through a door? A few seconds. Now how's a small developer on its first title on the GameCube run that much better than a seasoned developer who at this point has 3 titles under their belt for the same hardware? Part of me speculates this is here because of either nostalgia or tradition. If this shit's really here to address a technical limit and to disguise the loading screen, fine. If it's here for nostalgia or tradition, this is fucking stupid because this only existed in the first place to cover the PS1's poor load times. None of the spaces you enter are particularly that big, nor should they really be that taxing. I don't think the GameCube was incapable of pulling this off. RE4 keeps the same fidelity with full 3D backgrounds and loads between major spaces in half the time. But anyway, this issue's fixed. So the door to your rear is shut, you need to head down a couple of cars for a train key at the end. This will initiate your fuck me dude, this will initiate your meeting with Billy.
You're under arrest.
No thanks, Dollface. I've already worn handcuffs.
Smoochie. You'll backtrack running into a dead guy, dogs, and Billy a second time once you unlock the train door. He calls you a little bitch, and you head upstairs for some hentai shit. You can fight here or run. Either way, same thing happens. As of this point, the two are partners and you're free to work your way around the train. The cutscene misleads you since Rebecca walks towards the stairs. The new guy will probably head back down, but your next objective is right outside the window. Here's one of those moments that punish you for leading with Billy. The next thing that's going to happen is getting stuck in a train car, specifically the first person to observe this wire. If you leave with Billy, it's now up to Rebecca to kill a giant scorpion. Since you need a pick from this room, at best you have 3 health items on deck. Last, if you picked up the briefcase before thinking you needed it, or decided to pick up the hunting gun in the cab. It looks intimidating, but smart play with the knife will actually leave you unscathed. If you can master the awkward movement and comeback with the knife anyway. The knife can actually carry you through every fight. There is rhyme and reason to boss enemy movement. Normal enemies? Not so much. The dodge mechanic introduced in RE3 would have been welcome here, but fuck it. Combat's really gonna be hit or miss for some people. If I was a betting man, I'd say newcomers who grew up with the 7th console generation and all of its refinements are probably sporting the alternate control type, resent the clunky combat, and find it as one of the game's weaker aspects. If you grew up with this game, chances are you don't mind it and will actively defend it as crucial to the experience. Again, I played a certain game with better survival horror combat. It did reduce enemy difficulty though, so there would have to be some more tweaks to AI behavior here to compensate. As it is now, it works for what it's trying to do. Is that always enjoyable? Fuck no! But it essentially makes the enemies formidable barriers which induce some decision making. Either spend some ammo and clear the way, or risk taking a hit and use a health resource. It's never a given, at least on your first few goes. It's never a given that you can just evade your enemy. There's tension there. Especially when you're locked into tank control mode, you can't just easily evade most things, so caution is required in your play. This type of gameplay nowadays is just rare more than anything else, at least among the big developers. I mean, at the time this was same old, but I'm trying to avoid that here. It's resource management, puzzles, and harsh consequences. Anyway, the scorpion loses collision detection upon death and you're able to free whoever got stuck in the room. This fancy ISIS device lets you pull up a hatch and complete the suitcase puzzle, grab the grapple hook, run from the ISIS member camping in the closet, and head to the front car. You will then need to split up in order to stop the train. Grab the keycard though, otherwise you're going to be feeling a little silly. For plot reasons, the train needs locks engaged from the front and back of the train via math problems? Fuck it, the train crashes and we enter our second stage.
Come on.
There will be a shit ton of zombies here as well as whatever you touched on the train. See, once you know this, you'll be far more liberal on what you keep on your person while on the train, making it a much more enjoyable experience. If you didn't know, fuck you! In the eye, preferably. So from here, we make it into a training facility, but it's just another retread of RE1's mansion. This will likely be your largest time sink first go, as the puzzles condense themselves once you leave. Here, things are very much spread out. It's a short section, but only if you know what you're doing. I remember my first time through, I just used this main hall as an item dumping spot. I knew it was safe and a frequent point of interest, so I just left shit here. If I needed something, I just came back. This sucked on the original version, but with the drastically reduced load times, I honestly didn't mind backtracking. This section is all about observation, puzzle solving, and information gathering. You can find notes scattered about, some which will help you solve future puzzles. You got plenty of time to learn the layout, which is good because you need to backtrack through it when Rebecca needs saving for the 5th time. It's just nice. There's nice ambience to this space. Got the little noises that pop in and out and play their part in creating an unsettling atmosphere. I've grinded this shit so hard I could probably go puzzle to puzzle like I did for the train off the top of my head without referencing the footage. Does this make me a racist? I'll never tell. Grab crankshaft in crow room. Send Rebecca upstairs. She unlocks door. Grab red key. Kill Lucha Libre. Go through kitchen red door and supply lighter fluid. Open door with the creepy candle man and get the Book of Good, which corresponds to women. And then you can use the Book of Evil, which corresponds to men.
What was it with boys?
Of course, that doesn't happen until you go through that other red door, pushing the stupid thing to get the clock minute hand. Then you put in 333 like every other puzzle. Your secret lab opens, Dee Dee comes in to fuck it up.
Yeah, we're gonna go fuck up your lab!
But everything here is basic lock and key. The lock comes in many shapes and sizes and may require an extra step or two, but its keys spread out across the mansion. is grinded so much into my memory that I can see how smartly the puzzles loop into each other. You don't have to run from one end to the other for every little thing. It's just first goers who will probably end up playing it out like that, which is kind of a big deal if you're not keen on replays. It just sucks that the barrier to entry here is beating the game, or at least a lot of trial and error. Some of these puzzles also highlight another little technical problem with the game. You can be standing right there, right where you need, and the fucker will just not use the thing. Then you tiptoe to the left and suddenly he's cool. He's just cool with it. The areas where you can trigger the usable item could have been a little more generous. Same with trying to pick up the item. Fuck that. Hopefully before leaving you remember to take the hook shot with you, as this next area requires its use. Chances are in your first go that you had to backtrack. Made all the more fun since the place will be crawling with monkeys.
Rebecca!
Now the door here is locked, and there's a panel on the right that unlocks it. So who do you send in? No shit. I got him with a knife once, and I will never do it again. Once Batman or Man-Bat, whatever the fuck he's called in the new 52 or whatever it is you kids read, it's time to hook shot through the roof. You probably sent Billy again, but this time it's just to turn on elevator power. You're now in the lab and you guys gotta split up again. Who to send? Send Rebecca. Trust me. Unlike the mansion, which gradually expanded, this is a small and simple space to navigate. The main thing here is just using the lift system to send items to characters. It's another one of those slow processes, but again, a simple PC mod or frame rate release can ease the weight on these. This section houses two questionable doors, once for this gas chamber and one here for this train station. See, there comes a point where you need to open a door into this room and this room respectively. Once you go through the door opening animation, you're just free to access these spaces without a load time. Why not just have the door open like that one ISIS guy? You showed you can do it. All of this area is clearly already loaded, yet you put me through this shit. Yeah, it's just an extra 16 seconds, but this is what makes me think the doors are more a stylistic choice than a necessary one. When the area is finished, it's Rebecca's turn to save Billy. This is the Resident Evil 2 section of the game. How do you know that? How do you know you don't need to search that area? Couldn't find a reason to lock the doors, huh? We find the proto-tyrant conveniently after finding a magnum, so fuck that guy. This little fan service diversion turns into our last area, the treatment plant. It's more spread out and complex than the lab, but not as much as the mansion. It easily houses the hardest puzzle and highlights one last issue with the game I'd like to point out. See, when your character makes an observation, it'll usually play out some text before letting you get to do the thing you want to do. In the piano puzzle, for instance, you see the piano, they'll internalize some remark like, "Man, I could go for a double-double and a side of fries. Should Billy play the piano?" Then they do the thing. For most stuff, this is fine. But then we get to instances where we need to repeatedly interact with said object for a puzzle. Now the piano here does this right. The first time he observes the object, he makes his food wet dream in his head, then asks if you want to interact with the object, fuck it. The second time, he just asks if you want to use the object, the obvious thing you're gonna want to do. For this puzzle here, and this... Oh, fuck me! Okay, one at a time. This puzzle here, you will fail, period. You click on points to try and get everything to light up. Now on this dolphin run, I made a save state prior to selecting the first point, because every time you fail, you will get kicked off the screen and need to make this observation about the panel before you can try the puzzle again. It gets old real quick. You fail, you just want to hop back in and try again, but instead, oh hey, this looks like it could potentially fix my VCR. Fuck with the buttons? Like every time she looks at it, she learns what the thing does for the first time, every time. Like, why? After the first time, you should just let me fuck with the buttons. It does it here again for this black puzzle. Which, by the way, if you fuck up, you need to leave the room and reset. unless it's on Dolphin, and you just make a save state. This run is illegitimate as fuck. See, Billy's down there just doing the bitch work because Rebecca insists she's entitled to the CEO position right off the bat. So if you got this contraption, it spins the door and fills the floor with water. First time she looks at it, she makes an observation. Pluto is not a real planet. What should I do with this device? Left, right, or waste the water? Those are your options. You need to adjust this thing several times. More than several if you're not just passing through this game for your third time and you're still trying to figure it out. Every subsequent time you go to interact with this thing, you think it just gives you left, right, or waste water. Nope! Every time you look at this thing, bitch has gotta make her astronomical observations despite majoring in creative writing. Like she's amazed at what this thing can do every time. The remastered version does not correct this issue. So what, you black asshole? You chide in. It's just a port, you say. Ah, I would think that too, except the remastered version does correct puzzle UI in another instance. This dial puzzle. In the original version, you are asked to input a number, then given instructions on how to move the dial before inputting every single number. Put in 4, see instructions. Put in 8, see instructions. Put in 6, see instructions. Then you get to input the final digit. On the remastered version, you just fucking spin the dial and input the code as the text plays. A clear improvement. If you did that, if you could fix that, what the fuck is this? Dolphin can correct the light puzzle, and a speed mod can curb Rebecca's Alzheimer's, but either way you're getting fucked on one of these puzzles depending on your version and your willingness to mod. Besides these two puzzles, you got more lock and key shit which will loop back on themselves in clever ways. A good thing to take away for the first time is that the game will not make you run back and forth across the map without some kind of linking puzzle. If you find that first thing you're supposed to do, don't stray super far from the area. Even if you do, the spot isn't as large as the fully open mansion, so you should be fine, if you made it this far anyway. So you save Billy, make him trudge the mines.
So I'm guessing you need a bodyguard, right?
No.
Split up so you can make a battery, and head to the final boss. If you save weapon for the more potent weapons, it's cake. If you have a knife and some patience, it's doable, but pretty difficult. It's as good as a bullet sponge boss can be, I guess. Run, shoot, and repeat. Combat isn't really this engine's strongest suit. So you kill that, split up one more time, and then head up to the final boss. You need to give it a certain amount of damage before the final phase kicks off where the two figure out light hurts the leech. It's explained really poorly what direction is which, so I always play as Billy here and just let the AI do it for me. I just learn the order from watching the AI do it. See, if you're Billy, you can just keep mindlessly shooting it, or stare at it, or knife it. Even with just one knife, this shit's doable. You just cut it pretty damn close. Once the 4 doors are open, you shoot that bitch down a shaft.
Hey, Queenie! Feast on this!
Jesus Christ. With their nightmare over, Rebecca declares Billy Cohen dead and allows him to escape since she believes him to be innocent of that crime she read earlier. So they stand and salute each other. What the fuck is that, you out of regs idiot? Billy leaves, never to be bothered by the zombie shit again. Rebecca, on the other hand, will go on for a whole nother day of this shit.
That must be the old mansion that Enrico was talking about.
People are waiting for me.
You stupid idiot.
Cohen's dead.
Rebecca, thank you.
This game marked the end of an era for Resident Evil. It would be the last time this control scheme would be used for a mainline title. The team was good, they can make top-of-the-line models, sound design, the art direction was nice, but the formula was becoming stale. I don't like to compare things in that manner though, as if you're tired of something, you can just simply play less of it. For this classic survival horror style, it was a solid title, but very unforgiving and unkind to the uninitiated. You probably shouldn't start with this one. Gaining mastery over it is satisfying, and there are plenty of rewards to encourage you to play and replay it again. It seems like it takes hours the first time, then you realize you can beat this thing in the time it took me to walk to the segregated water fountains. Now am I a racist? Oh, never! The rewards are a little counterintuitive, like if you've unlocked the infinite ammo magnum, chances are you don't need it. It'd just be a power trip thing. As survival horror goes, it'll always be one of my favorites. I'm just not gonna deny that the barrier to entry is pretty high. So get good, stupid!
What is this hall?
Resident Evil.